Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Resellers Podcast with Tech and Sports and Daily Refinement. In today's episode, we are going to reiterate what we feel like are the two most important things when it comes to reselling. That's a consistent listing habit, and then, or rather, consistent quality listing habit, and then improving your reseller Rolodex so that you're finding and listing items that people actually want to buy. So I want to talk about developing a reseller Rolodex. For you, we have a Facebook group now, and today we're also doing the live coaching. So we're recording this live in front of our Patreon audience, and they're asking questions along the way. But every day in the Facebook group, people are posting things I've never seen before. You've been doing this for a long time, but it made me realize how little I know in my own category, with people posting so many different variables of pricing, tags, style. There's so many things, even in just the clothing category. And in our group, there's probably 100 categories.
Yeah, totally. And, a lot of that just comes with experience, touching and handling a lot of pieces of clothing, starting to learn more so by touch what's quality and what's not quality. And then you can dig deeper into certain other things, such as the country of manufacture, the material, and then, of course, the brand. So, the most important part of the reseller Rolodex is that the brands that work for you, those are the brands that you always need to be on the lookout for. And after you've done this for long enough, whenever you see a new brand that you don't know, that's something that you should always look up and should pique your interest. So, there's a lot of things that you can look for that will show quality. Pretty much anything made of, cashmere or um, wool that maybe is made in Italy or made in Ireland. That's something that even if you don't know the brand is worth checking out and looking into. And then of course the country of manufacture, such as the United States, that is more oftentimes than not a sign of quality, and also a sign of age. Before they exported overseas and to Central and South America, a lot of things were made in the USA in the 80s, the 90s, and before, and that's always going to be the first tell on the age is usually the country of manufacture. So like for you, you spend all day today sourcing. This is your sourcing day.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, you're still learning so much about the tags. How do you break it down when you source? Do you have brands that are in the Rolodex that you always buy? Do you have a pile of stuff that you need to look up that you've never seen? And then do you have a total discard pile that you're not going to deal with?
Okay, so here's my super strategy. It's my sourcing spot's 5 miles from here. It takes 55 minutes to drive there. That's how much traffic there is in the morning going from Oakland to San Francisco. So it takes me an hour to drive there. On the way, I'm now taking my describer with me. So on the way there, the 55 minutes, she's reading the solds of a few stores that we follow. And also she's looking at TRP to try to sharpen our swords on the way to sourcing to figure out what's selling well and what's not. And it made me really realize how important what you just mentioned is beyond brand. Certain linen items sell for a lot of money. Certain silk items sell for a lot of money. Cashmere. Also, certain denim sells for a lot of money. Some denim is cut up and used as squares in crafting. There's a lot to every single category. And you mentioned before, like I know in the category of tools and instruments, German-made things are worth a lot. And if you've ever picked one up at a thrift store, it's quadruple as heavy as something made in China. It's just made differently. You can see the craftsmanship. And this is important because when you're looking at clothing or any category, because people think we only know how to sell clothing, but that's not the case. It translates to everything. And you are accidentally a great women's clothing seller, even though that's not your main category. It just comes with the territory.
Yeah, totally. All right. So when you're on the line with your worker and you're
Yep.
going through the items
Yep.
and it's a brand that you haven't seen, how do you look the item over and decide whether this is something that I'm interested in looking up or this is something that I'm totally going to pass on?
First thing is weight. So if the garment is heavier, then we're going to think, okay, this is interesting by feel if it's polyester, and modern, usually it's not worth a lot. That's from my basic understanding of clothing. And then also you can tell by almost the knit. Really expensive knits. This is also something I find unusual. Expensive knits seem to be damaged more easily. It's almost like the higher end stuff. I see a lot of it. It's pretty fragile, and someone has donated it because it has a scuff,
or a
or
pull.
there's some kind of issue with
Yeah,
it,
or a pull to the fabric. Yeah, that
or a pull to the
that's
fabric.
more or less. So when I'm going through the racks, I always look at brand first. Brand is paramount with everything
Mm,
because that is
yeah.
the top way to find your item within the search. You can find, a beautiful cashmere sweater with a beautiful purple color. Everything is perfect about it. But if it doesn't have a strong brand, it can
Mm-hmm,
only be found in the search as a beautiful cashmere sweater. So for
mm-hmm,
me, brand is paramount. Brand is everything.
mm-hmm,
Um, I honestly do not use TerraPeak. I don't look at the solds very much, just
mm-hmm,
because I've been doing it for so long. TerraPeak wasn't around, or it definitely wasn't free. So the way how I've always done it is that, you know, you could watch some YouTube videos where they have hauls. You can go on Instagram and see items that other people are showing. But more important than hauls and more important than showing is you want to look at what actually sells and what it sells for. So there are people on YouTube that will actually show you, like, instead of a haul video, like a this sold for this video. And once you see items that sell for a certain amount, that those are items that you can look on eBay, see kind of how many are out there, see kind of how many are selling. And when you see them at the thrift, see if those meet your parameters for your margins. If they do, I pick it up, bring it home, list it. If it sells quickly, I put it in the Rolodex and say, okay, let me try this one again. Pick it up again. It sells rather quickly. All right, let me get two or three. Get the
mm-hmm.
two or three. Those sell rather quickly. All right, let me get a bunch of them. I get a bunch of them. They're still selling all the time. All right, this brand, I'm getting everything that I can find of this brand. And that's my internal therapy of, like, this item does good for me. So every single piece of this item I'm going to pick up, whether it's going to be a shirt, a polo shirt, a hat, a pair of pants, pair of shorts, it doesn't matter. This is a strong brand for me. And not everybody can sell the same brands as strong, because there's different dynamics to the search. There's different dynamics of cost based on region. So there's a lot of things that do go into it. So, like, there's a lot of things, like you said, like Banana Republic is all over California. I don't really see it a whole lot. I think
Mm-hmm.
I might have 4 or 5 pieces of it, but it is out there. So that may be an item for you in California that you can get for $1 and maybe make a margin on it. But that's something for me that I don't see very often. Like you said, you never see Vineyard Vines. You never see brands that I have all the time. So it is very, like, based on your geographic location. But that's part of the Rolodex, is like, I see this brand all the time.
Yep.
It fits my criteria and margin. So this is something that goes right in the front of the Rolodex. And every single time I see it, I need to know, this sells for 16, this sells for 12, this sells for 27, this sells for 32. What you can find, what it sells for, and what price you're able to pay, those are all line items in the Rolodex. And that's the stuff you have to know immediately. So, like you, when you're sorting out of huge piles, you need to pick up this sweater and you need to say, okay, this one sells for 24. I'm getting it for 3. This is a keeper. This one sells for 6 all day. No
Mm-hmm.
good. This one sells for 20, 27, 22. This is a keeper. That's
Yep.
the stuff that you have to do the quick, immediate math on instantly. As soon as you see an item, it has to be second nature, and it doesn't even have to be a thought. It just has to be second nature, and you got it.
And this is like, you're gonna find items that you can tell are expensive. Like, for example, Max Mara, I didn't know sells for $500+ at Neiman Marcus or whatever. It's an expensive women's designer brand, but it felt different when we touched it. And I thought I got a lot of money when I sold one for like $50, but people are selling them for like $200 pre-owned. So you also will accidentally sell things for too little in the beginning, and that's going to be okay as you learn. We also learned Veronica Beard feels, that was another brand that I found that was heavier. It looked higher quality than the other garments. Also made me realize there's a lot of places in the Bay Area in San Francisco where there are boutiques that sell high-end stuff, but it's not a designer brand. You would need a brick and mortar in order to sell amazing looking, feeling items that have no brand. If someone couldn't see it, they wouldn't be able to see the premium.
Yeah, and that's why I said the first thing out the gate is that brand is the most important thing. So
Mm-hmm.
like a vintage Harley shirt or a Harley shirt is gonna sell all day. It doesn't matter if it has holes, stains, bleach, the collar is cut off. It does not matter. A Harley shirt will sell eventually, but a 1998 vintage South Carolina motorcycle rally shirt may be just as cool. And if that shirt had a Harley Davidson tag on it,
Mm-hmm.
it would sell. But because it's not Harley Davidson branded, the only way to find that item is by searching vintage motorcycle shirt, South Carolina Rally. And there might be one eBay search per year. And that person might not even be the size of the shirt. So, how long do you hold on to that shirt that can't be matched up in the search? And how many Harley Davidson shirts can you sell just because it's such a strong brand? Harley Davidson is a clothing company that
Mm-hmm.
sells motorcycles.
That's right.
So, that's how strong the clothing brand is.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot of shirts like you can pick them up and you could say, man, if this had a polo tag on it, this would be worth $100.
Mm-hmm.
But it has a Walmart tag on it and it's worthless. So brand is the most important thing when it comes to selling clothing, bar none, no doubt about it.
Another thing that's kind of a dead giveaway for what brand you should sell, the brands that are counterfeited are the ones that are the most valuable. Polo Ralph Lauren, today we saw 10 fakes, 10 different kind of fakes. It was incredible. And in the Facebook group, somebody, and this is what looking at how different things translate means for you. Somebody had posted a jersey, and on the back of it, you mentioned that the way that the back of the thing was sewn on, it had that white around the lettering,
Mm-hmm.
and an expensive garment wouldn't have that sloppiness on the back of the garment.
Yeah.
That was on the back of the pony of the fake Ralph Lauren that I saw. But from the front, if you look at the pony, it probably is correct.
Or close
Maybe
enough. Yeah.
they're close enough. The pony is good enough, but you can, if you look at the back and you see it's affixed
Yeah. It's like a
poorly.
stencil paper. And
Right.
a lot of the fake jerseys, they'll have that stencil paper still on the backside
Yep.
of the numbers and the name. And a lot of the fake jerseys are obviously fake. There are some that are very, very close,
Mm-hmm.
but there's always one or two things that can give it away. When I go to the flea market, I could literally spot a fake jersey from a half a mile away. Some of them are that obvious if you know what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't know what you're looking for and you throw up a couple fake jerseys, that could be the end of your eBay career just like
Yep.
that. So you really have to know what you're doing. And I'm very glad that Lisa asked that question today, because had she thrown that up, she was at high risk of a VERO. A
That's
guy
right.
today, he posted that he got a VERO from Allbirds. And the reason for the VERO, Allbirds took it down because they accused him of using stock photos.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not a stock photo that he used. So he's in communication with Allbirds. Allbirds said that they will reverse the VERO, but
Mm.
having them say they will reverse it and having them go out of their way and contacting eBay and reversing it for you is two different things. So we have to walk an extremely fine line on the items that we're putting on eBay. And for me personally, I'm putting up over 90,000 items per year. I cannot be wrong more than 2 or 3 times this year, and my account is gone. If I list 2 or 3 counterfeits, my account is gone. And that's for me listing 90,000 items, and that's for you listing 5 items a day. You mess up 2 or 3 times, and your account is gone.
A VERO is when the verified rights owner, so VERO stands for verified rights owner, reaches out to you saying it's counterfeit. I just heard this about KitchenAid. KitchenAid, the mixers, believe it or not, are counterfeited. It's not that difficult. I mean, the KitchenAid mixer is classic. A lot of people have it. So the shell might be authentic, but the interior might be fake. If you use a stock photo, KitchenAid will remove your mixer because they don't know. They have so much protection against their brand. They don't know what you're selling.
And they don't even have to know if you have the item or not. Technically speaking,
Yep.
a stock photo is owned by the brand.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever takes the photo owns the photo. There
Yep.
was a court case of a monkey that took a selfie and they couldn't figure out who owned the photo. Because if I take a picture of you, I own the photo.
Mm-hmm.
And if a company takes a picture, they own that photo and you do not have rights to use that photo to sell your item. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people like to play the game of doing stock photos and doing this. It's a lot easier to do, but you are playing with fire. If any one of these companies decides to go through their brand and give out Veros for stock photos, you will be taking a vacation. So I have never used a stock photo. I would never recommend anybody to use a stock photo, but you can use a stock photo. Not every brand enforces it as hard, but just know that you're walking a line and you're playing with fire. And that goes for a lot of other things. If you sell Whirlpool um, water filters that go in your refrigerator, it doesn't matter if they're counterfeit or not. Whirlpool is taking those down.
Mm-hmm.
They are super protective of the brand. And these are also things, to elaborate further, you have to know the items that you're listing are original and not counterfeit. You have to know the items that you're listing, the brands that are super protective, and the brands that are okay with you reselling their items. Last year, Nike suspended a bunch of people for selling
Mm-hmm.
brand new Nike shoes, not because they were counterfeit,
Mm-hmm.
but because they were exporting the shoes to other countries.
Mm-hmm.
That is against Nike's terms of service. You cannot export brand new Nikes to other countries because Nike has deals with other countries, and other countries pay a premium or pay a higher price to have exclusivity rights on Nike in those countries. And if they can circumvent that and get the Nikes from Chris on eBay, why is this store in Belgium paying a premium to hold Nike? So Nike has to protect their brand and their authorized resellers. So it is very important. The items that you list, you have to be 100% certain that they are not counterfeit, and you have to be 100% certain that you are not breaking any kind of terms of service or any type or going up against any brands that are heavily protective of the brand. And it happens every single day that these companies send out Veros. A lot of times they're correct, sometimes they're wrong. 100% of the time, eBay does not care. That's between you and the brand. That's a legality. That's eBay's loophole of saying the brand said it's fake. Our hands are off. It's between you and the brand. Because otherwise, if eBay was standing up for us, all of these companies would go after eBay and sue eBay back to the Stone Age.
So I have something I want to go into, but there's a question in the chat about how do you determine what brand you sell? And do some brands fall out of favor? And are you constantly looking for new brands?
I sell the same 20 or 30 brands over and over and over again. The large reason why I sell these brands over and over and over again is because they don't hand out Veros like a lot of these other brands do. All of the brands that I sell, I have deemed safe brands. Now, because I only sell 20 or 30 brands and I have 30,000 items in my store, I dominate the 20 or the 30 brands that I sell. That's my mission every single day when I wake up, is to dominate the brands that I sell. I don't sell 100 or 200 or 500 different brands because I don't want to sell Louis Vuitton. That's too risky for me. I don't want to sell Gucci. It's too risky. I don't even want to sell anything that's below that tier. If it's not everyday value, I do not want to sell it. And I have never seen one time Tommy Bahama hand out a Vero. I have never seen one time a Nike shirt get taken down that was a polyester dry fit. Never. I have never seen it. But I have seen all of these other brands that are smaller than these huge brands that have, more skin in the game, that they need to actually sell the items themselves and they can't afford for a bunch of resellers to sell it at a discount. I have seen a lot of those brands pursue their intellectual property very more aggressive than these big brands that do billions and hundreds of billions of dollars of sales per year. So I have 20 brands that I sell that are safe for me. And it takes a lot for me to venture out and go for a new brand because that is very risky for me.
You even mentioned Fila reached out to you when you were selling
Yep.
too many items. And that's not even, I would consider Fila like a second tier brand.
I considered Fila a safe brand until they sent me an email and asked if I had a license to resell their items. And I said no. And a Vero was coming next. So I told them I would take down every single Fila item that I had. And that's what I did.
It can happen.
Yep.
I want to share something with you guys as far as building your reseller Rolodex that I've been using. There's a big women's clothing seller. The name of the store is Phoenix Trading Company. They're really big on eBay. So what I've been doing is looking at their store to see what brands sell well, and this is what really showed me the difference between W plus size and regular. Like size 18, there's size 18 regular, and then there's also size 18 plus. The W, or Woman, I call it WOMAN, that's a different designation of sizing. So as I'm looking and learning from other sellers who sell those things really well, you guys might want to do that. Find stores that sell the items that you want to sell, figure out what it is that they sell, what sizes do well, and you'll start to get an idea of how to sell the particular items in your area. I thought there was no plus size stuff where I live in California. I was totally wrong. I just didn't know how to look for it. Now that I have an idea of when it's like when you are looking to buy a new car, you start seeing that car on the freeway nonstop. It's because your feelers are now out. There's plenty of plus size in California. I just didn't notice it.
I
Um,
agree.
is it generally safer to list new with tags items, or is it generally safer to not list new with tags clothing items and focus primarily on pre-owned? Here's a good example of this: the North Face. They go after new with tag items all the time. Even if the item is 5 years old, they still go after that person because they don't know if it's counterfeit.
Not only that, they go after them because the North Face carries a heavy warranty, and you
Mm-hmm.
as a reseller cannot provide that warranty to the customer. So it's a
Mm.
bad buyer experience for the North Face customer. So it is way more risky, in my opinion, to sell new with tags. White House Black Market goes after people new with tags.
Yep.
Calvin Klein goes after people new with tags. That's not to say you can't list it, but I've personally seen it. And the second I see someone that goes after somebody, that's immediately off the radar. Because, like I said, you can only be wrong 2 or 3 times and you get a hefty eBay vacation or a permanent suspension. So, for me, since I primarily focus on vintage clothing, I believe my risk of getting Veros is a lot less than someone who sells a lot of new with tags items.
I also want to point out it's I think it might be easier to sell 100 everyday value items than 10 luxury items.
Without a doubt.
You know,
Because there's more broke people than rich people, and I want to serve the broke people. I'm more than happy making my money selling everyday value to broke people.
I agree with that. The $9 to $30 range versus the $30 to $100 range is totally different. There's also a lot less returns. There's also more combined orders. I think that's something that really helped me out. Is as you start to grow, you start to get more people buying more than one item, and it comes down to providing an excellent customer experience. And that's where, if you think about what your customer wants, usually it's a high quality item at a good price. It's almost always that. The trying to buy something that you can't really afford, that is a market too. But if you're selling $200 items and getting $80 low balls all day, that can be very frustrating. And you see that in the online a lot. People have something for $500 that people really want, but they can't afford it. That item is going to get lowballed more than a $24 item.
This is what customers want. Customers want to pay X amount for an item that they think is worth X amount more that they're paying.
That's right.
Nobody is ever going to pay you more than what they think the item is worth. So if you can provide the deal where someone feels like the item that they're getting is worth more that they're paying, you will have unlimited sales.
Another question in the chat. Tech can survive a downturn in the economy. What would you recommend for smaller resellers when there's another downturn in the economy? This is playing off of last episode, kind of.
That's fine. I know last episode ruffled some feathers, and I'm totally okay with that because, you know, the only way what we said will not happen is if the post office decreases fees, if eBay decreases fees, the thrift charges less, and all of a sudden life is good is worth $30. That is the only way what we talked about will not come true. So even if our conversation helps one person out of the thousands of people that listened, then that's mission accomplished to me. So I'm steadfast in my belief that all of these things are going to rise and that we have to be able to weather the storm. So like they said, eBay is a different kind of beast. When people have a lot of money, they come on eBay and they spend a lot of money. When there's a downturn in the economy and people don't have a lot of money, they still want to look fly, they still want to look fresh, and they will go on eBay looking for a deal because they don't have enough money. So even in 2008, I was like in the beginning of building the business, but my sales were fine for the level that I was at. So when times are good, people come on eBay and they spend a lot of money. When times are a little more difficult, people come on eBay and I still believe that they're going to spend a lot of money because they're looking for a deal. They're looking to pay slightly less. And if you are selling pre-owned items, we've talked about it before, the market is going to go from $2 billion to $24 billion in the next couple of years. So the biggest piece of advice that I would give to a small seller or smaller sellers or a large seller in an economic downturn or even the summer slowdown, this is the most important piece of advice that I would give. It's easy to be consistent and list your items when you're getting sales all the time. It is not easy to list your items and be consistent every single day when the sales are not there anymore. So in the summertime, when the sales slow down and you've been used to multiple months of stimulus packages and a bunch of money printing, it becomes very difficult to still trust in the process and believe the process to continue to list every single day when you don't get that immediate gratification. So for me, I don't even think about the summertime. I'm listing every single day from today so I can smash Q4, smash Q3. That's what I'm listing for. I'm not listing to sell stuff in June or July. I'm listing so when the buyers do come back to the platform in Q3 and Q4, my store is massively bulked up and I have everything available for them so they can buy it. Because not a single customer in November or December is going to send me a message and say, hey, I would like to buy something that you don't have listed yet. So you need to get all of your items listed so when the buyers do come back, they're ready to buy. And that takes, a massive amount of patience and a massive amount of trust that in the summertime, when the sales do not come every single day that they're coming right now, as frequent, you have to trust that you're doing the right thing and that when it starts rocking and rolling again, you have to trust that you're putting yourself in the best position when the buyers come back, that you'll be available to take full advantage.
This is something that when I first joined this group and created this group with you, I stopped selling on Poshmark. And I just believed in my heart, actually, not even heart, logically, if I had more time to work on my eBay store, it would be bigger. So I had to trust in the process because I gave up $15,000 a month in sales on Poshmark to do that. Because I moved all of my time to eBay and my store got way bigger. So I think this is something that you have to trust the process when you focus. When I think about how much time I spent sharing, delisting, relisting, learning how Poshmark works, all the social stuff that's involved with Poshmark, and I just added that time to my day. We think about how many hours of the day, like you mentioned, if you had the prompt, if you had to post something in Facebook saying to motivate the group every day, it would be something along the lines of, did you work today?
Yes or no?
And I was thinking, yes or no. Did you work today? Yes or no. And that's kind of all there is, because if you're cross listing, this is what really made me believe in the process. You're going to make the money anyway. You're going to make the money whether it's now or 2 months from now or 6 months from now. If you do a good job of listing it, it will eventually sell. If you're so focused on quick money, sometimes you just lose track of how fast compounding. I don't think there's anything wrong with the 15 to 20 to 25% sell-through rate over the course of a year, turning your inventory 3, 4, 5 times versus turning your inventory 10, 12 times a year. If you're selling stuff instantly, that's really difficult to sustain.
Yeah, it's very difficult to sustain, if not impossible. And I don't know if you could have a clothing store that is not auction only or heavy auction where you can really turn your inventory 10 or 12 times per year. I mean, either way, no matter how you do it, clothing is going to be the long game. And that's what all of us sign up for the first day that we say that we're going to sell clothing. Like video games, if they're priced right, you will literally sell them within 10 minutes or 1 hour. Clothing, it doesn't matter. You can price it right and it might sit there for a year. So that's just part of the game on what we have to deal with. And a lot of it is mental. A lot of it is mental when things are different, you have to understand that you're not doing anything wrong. It's just the market is different. And, you know, I almost heavily sympathize with people who are year one sellers on eBay because they're going to have a false hope that what they've seen so far since Q4, you know, Q1 was rocking. We got tax returns and we got heavy stimulus back the beginning of this year. Like that's not how it goes for real. So like if that is your expectation on how this business goes, you find stuff and it just all these shoppers are out here, like that's not how it really goes. But the piece that you can find if you are a new seller and you continue to list every single day, you will not have any slowdowns for maybe 2 years, 2.5 years until your store starts to stabilize. Because as long as you're listing every single day and your store is growing, you will sell more in the summer than you did if you just started in January. Because you're going to have a larger store, a larger selection, hopefully a larger selection of quality items. Hopefully you have a better understanding of the price. So while it's not going to be as aggressive with all of these shoppers that had stimulus money and tax money, your store is getting bigger. So you are going to continue to sell more items. So for me, I've always sold more items month over month, year over year, because my store is constantly growing. So that's why like a summer slowdown, if your store is growing, you have that much more of a cushion against any kind of slowdown. And that goes back to last week. If you're not growing, your store is dying.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Resellers Podcast. If you'd like to listen to the rest of the episode and 35 other full-length episodes, please go to patreon.com/the Resellers Podcast. And we also have Facebook mentorship, and that starts at $35 a month. You get coaching Monday through Friday from me, Daily Refinement, at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we have a new 24/7 Zoom room. So you can hop in there any time of the day, and there'll be people in there that you can share your experiences with. You can build accountability around that, but it's a very cool new addition. We also have accounting help from a previous accountant every other Thursday. So that's going to be a cool addition to the group. If you guys need some help with your numbers, she can be in there. That's Cheryl. She's going to be helping people just answer basic questions on taxes. So that's great that we have a professional in the group now. So we're looking forward to that new resource. So every single month we provide you guys with new and improved information and resources for no additional cost. So we'll see you guys inside the group. Thank you so much.